ladies.
Hi.
Hey, ladies. Oh my gosh, we're back together again. The four of us. I'm so excited. First time
Yes,
the hiatus was done, that the four of us are back together.
That's
that's right.
right.
That's right.
Oh,
Good to see you.
Good
It's
to
good to
see
see
yeah.
you guys.
you.
I missed you all.
I
Missed,
know.
missed this, missed the
Yes.
sisterhood, all four of us. I've definitely missed it. So, welcome everyone to Brand Rewind Live. So good to have you here. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Denise Kegler. I'm coming to you from a very rainy Boston, Massachusetts, and my company is MDK Brand Management.
And hello, everyone. I'm Patia Abdul Razak, and I'm also coming to you from a very rainy Harlem, New York.
I'm Zoe Mitchell from Toronto, and I am dry right now and expecting rain later. And my company is Sharp Processes. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barika Phyllis Bell, and I am out of Los Angeles, California, and it's very sunny. No chances of rain, but my company is B3 Media Solutions. Good to see you guys.
Always sunny in California,
I
right?
know, right? I know.
Exactly. They're always jealous.
We are. We are. We're always jealous of the weather in LA, between LA and Miami. I mean,
Yeah.
fun. Awesome. So we're so excited about the next 30, 45 minutes. You guys know we usually do a day recognition, what's happening in the day. What we're going to do though is focus on the month of October because it is Black History Month in the UK and Women's History Month in Canada. So because we're celebrating around the world, at least in those two markets, something very special for folks of color, Black folks of color, and we're women here. We are so excited to bring you this special edition of Brand Rewind Live. And to introduce our special guest is Patia. Oh, and then also I want to say we have, and thank you guys. I'm going to get to your comments in a second. And thank you guys for being here. I'm going to acknowledge you also online in a second. But we want to make sure that you're using the comment box for your questions and your comments throughout the show. So, Patia, it's all yours.
Absolutely. So, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce this evening's special guest. Her name is Alelia Bundles. And I can't believe you guys, I literally slipped into her DMs and asked her to come on the show, and she said yes. So, hey, you never know. Good things happen in DMs.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so Alelia Bundles is a journalist and author of On Her Own Ground, The Life and Times of Madam C.J. Walker. And of course, this book is a New York Times notable book about her entrepreneurial great great grandmother that was used as the inspiration for Self Made, the fictional four-part series starring Oscar winner Octavia Spencer that premiered in March of 2020. She currently is at work on her fifth book, The Joy Goddess of Harlem, Alelia Walker, so she's named after her great great grandmother, and the Harlem Renaissance, a biography of her great grandmother, whose parties, can't wait to read this, arts patronage, arts patronage, and international travels helped to define that era. She is a brand historian or the brand historian for Madam by Madam C.J. Walker, which is a line of hair care products developed in partnership with Sundial and Walmart, right? So all these years later, the hair products are back. And in February 2022, she was named the inaugural Center for Africana Studies and Culture prestigious fellow in the School of Liberal Arts at IUPUI. She's also the founder of the Madam Walker Family Archives, the largest private collection of Walker photographs and memorabilia. Oh my goodness. To be, I'm getting chills. This is like literally a piece of history.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Bundles was a network television news executive and producer for 30 years at NBC News and then at ABC News. And her articles and essays have been published in the New York Times Book Review, Variety, Undefeated.com, Al Jazeera, and you can find out more about her fabulous life and her family by visiting her website, which is simply hername.com. So aleliabundles.com. So let's welcome our very special guest to the show.
Tia, thank you so much. That was really a generous introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to be with you. have watched your show, and you guys have such a good time. I'm glad to be part of that tonight.
Thank
Great.
Thank you
you.
so
Well,
much
thank
for
you.
joining us.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you for being here. We're excited too.
Okay. So, to kick things off, in your own words, can you just tell us, this was your great great grandmother, right? In your own words, what would you like people to know about her that maybe we don't already know from the series and the books and the articles? I mean, this is a family member of yours, right? So, there are always those little tidbits that other people
Mhm.
don't know.
So I grew up in a house where the silverware that we used every day was Madam Walker's monogram silverware. My mother was vice president of the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. So there were things around me, but we really did not sit around the dinner table talking about Madam Walker. My mother and father wanted me to have my own interest. And so I was interested in writing. I became a journalist. And as you said, I had a long career, but I was learning about Madam Walker long before I really knew who she was. And it really was in graduate school when I was at Columbia and in journalism that my master's paper advisor, Phyllis Garland, who was the only Black woman on the faculty, recognized my name, Alelia, and you can see that has an unusual spelling. And I think she knew the answer to this question, but she said, "Do you have any connection to Madam Walker and Alelia Walker?" And I said, "Yes, that's my family." And she said, "Well, that's what you're going to write your master's paper about," because I had
Hmm.
given her some boring cliche topics as students do. But that really led me into researching her because what most people knew about Madam Walker is that she made hair care products.
Mhm.
People incorrectly believed that she invented the hot comb. She did not invent the hot comb, but that was kind of all people knew. That was their one little factoid about her. But as I began to do research about her, I discovered, and this is sort of the biography in a minute and a half. Born Sarah Breedlove in Delta, Louisiana in 1867, first child in her family born free. Orphaned at 7, moved in with her older sister Luvinia, and she said, "I got married at 14 to get a home of my own to escape my cruel brother-in-law." She married a man named Moses McWilliams. They had one child, Amelia, who I'm named after. Moses died when she was 20. She moved up the river from Delta, Louisiana to St. Louis, where her older brothers had migrated a decade earlier as part of one of the early migrations of African Americans from the South. They were barbers in St. Louis. They lived near, their barbershop was near St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church. It was the ladies of the church who were her mentors, who began to give her a vision of herself as something other than an illiterate washerwoman. Along the way, she married another man named John Davis. It was an unhappy marriage, a lot of stress, and hygiene was very different. Her hair began to fall out because at the time, most Americans didn't have indoor plumbing or electricity, so they didn't wash their hair very often. They didn't bathe very often either, but that we don't even want to think about that too much. But
Hmm.
as a result, she, like many other women, was going bald. She
Hmm.
learned something from her brothers about hair care. She sold products for Annie Malone, who became her competitor for about a year and a half. She moved to Denver. Her good friend, Charles Joseph Walker, joined her there. He knew something about newspaper advertising. They got married. She began her own company and began to call it Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. They sold products, traveled throughout the South and the Southwest, settled briefly in Pittsburgh, and then arrived in Indianapolis in 1910. And that's really when the business began to take off, when she began to train thousands of women.
Wow. That is
Wow.
so inspiring. Thank you so much
Like,
for sharing.
I
I mean,
know.
I am just in awe of her, in awe of your family. Ladies, I mean, really, that was incredible. And so as you were talking, it made me think about the brand, the business. And as we know from doing the research, her business, her company is still there, and it's been what, 100 years, I think now.
Right.
So
1906 was the founding, so even
yeah,
longer.
even
Even
longer. Yeah,
yeah,
wow, much long, even much longer. So,
yeah.
and that's rare. I mean, that's just not something that a lot of companies can claim, that type of milestone. So what was it about her brand that you think made that happen, that really has her brand lasting for that long? What was it that inspired it, you think?
Well, I think that, so I'm just going to hold this up. I hope you guys can see it, but this is a box that it's a takeoff on the original product container. And
Mm,
she put her own image on it, Madam CJ Walker's Wonderful Hair Grower. And that was really key. I think that
mhm,
she understood that what she was selling, the idea of self-confidence to other women. She had
mm,
been a poor washerwoman. She had been mentored by other women. And as she began to sell her products, she knew she was solving a problem because a lot of women were going bald, losing their hair. She was
mhm,
teaching them, wash your hair more often, apply this ointment that's basically Vaseline with sulfur in it. So it's a, centuries old remedy, but the cosmetics and hair care industry really wasn't commercial and developed in that way. People sold, mix things up themselves or sold things locally, but she was developing a national business. And I think part of it is that she began to realize, yes, this product worked. Women wanted this product, but the product became a means to an end.
mm,
When she had her first convention in 1917 of her sales agents, and it had to have been one of the first conventions of women,
mm,
business women, she
mhm,
said to them, I want you to understand that your first duty is to humanity. I want others to look at us and realize that we care not just about ourselves, but about others. And she gave prizes 2 years before Mary Kay was born, not just to the women who sold the most products, but
mm.
to the women who contributed the most to charity. And
Well,
at the end of the convention, the women sent a telegram to President Woodrow Wilson urging him to support legislation to make lynching a federal crime. So for her, it was a great product. She said, first you have to have a great product, then you have to market it. But there was also very much infused throughout this sense of giving back. And the other thing that I think is really key for her, why she, outstripped stripped her competitors, is that she was very smart about her C-suite. She
Mm.
hired a great attorney. The manager of her factory was a woman who was a former dean of girls at a Black boarding school, so she could motivate the other women. She hired good national sales agents. So she was very smart about the people that she surrounded herself with.
hmm,
Wow.
That is
You
so
know that
fantastic.
that's amazing that even at that time that she was so focused on making sure that the people that she was surrounded were the top notch so that she could be successful and they could all be successful, and look where you guys are today. Like, it's
mhm,
just like, it's inspiring as a business owner to like make sure that, like, we talk about resourcing people now and like how we want to see people around us like doing well and actually coming up with new ideas, and even back then that was a challenge that she was able to like overcome. I love it. I love it.
Well, and as you know, it doesn't always work out.
Yeah,
mm,
that's true.
And
That's
and
true.
she had, she absolutely had disappointments. Her early life was very difficult. She made some bad choices about her husbands, and each the second and third ones. But she then, she learned the lessons that she needed to learn.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she was able to tap into something that was so important and so relevant and so personal for Black women, and something
Yeah.
we talk about on this show. We talk about hair a lot
Yes.
on this show because it's such a critical part, of our being, of our identity, of our brand. And so the fact that she recognized this so long ago and then did something about it is
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
On that line, I'm curious, Alelia, how did you transition from your journalism to now focusing on relaunching this brand? What made you transition and jump into relaunching it? I'm
So
kind of curious.
it's all part of a large matrix, but I will say that things were parallel. And when I wrote this paper in graduate school, that was 1975 and 76. So that's a really long time ago. But I then, had the 30-year career network television news. But throughout my career, I was writing on the side. I wrote a young adult book about Madam Walker that came out in 91. That was really, believe it or not, the first book that had ever been written about her. But it was a young adult book, not the major biography that I later wrote in 2001. But I was writing, a freelance article here and there. We had a Madam Walker stamp that came out in 1998. The Madam Walker's home had become a National Historic Landmark in 1976. So there were little seeds that were being planted throughout. And then when I was about to leave ABC, I got a contract to do another book. And then 2006 or so, which was about the time I left, Richelieu Dennis, who was the founding CEO of Sundial Brands, had bought the trademark for Madam Walker products. And Rich reached out to me. My family had not been involved. There was somebody else who owned the trademark for about 30 years, but they weren't a major player. And Rich bought the trademark because he'd grown up in Liberia and knew about Madam Walker and wondered what was happening. Why was he not seeing products? And he reached out to me to invite me to be a part of what he was doing and to be the brand historian and sort of the face of a family member. And then Rich sold Sundial Brands to Unilever a few years ago. And when he did that, he took part of the proceeds to create a venture capital fund for women of color entrepreneurs. And it still is involved with the company as a board member. But Kara Sabin, who's a sister, became the CEO. And at the beginning of the pandemic, they wanted to do sort of a reboot. And I worked very closely with Kara and a creative team on what we wanted the products to be in partnership with Walmart. So all of these things are, happening in a parallel way. The Barbie doll is another one of those things. So I'm writing another book, but there's always like one more thing, one more ball in the air.
Sounds very entrepreneurial.
Right, exactly. I mean, my thing with you is like, if you haven't gone to the website, I just want to put it up. The products are Madam by Madam CJ Walker, and it's www.madambymcjw.com. Please go to the website, check it out. Awesome products, awesome selection of products for hair care and everything. But my question is, you showed that picture, and that's like a picture that, like, because I have the book with about Madam C.J. Walker. I've had it since I was younger, and I always love the fact that she put her picture on the product, because I am a strong believer in representation and how much it matters for people to see themselves in products and advertising and in movies and film. So I would love to know what branding lessons actually inspired your current product packaging and branding that you may have gotten from your great grandmother.
So in doing the packaging for this, I mean, because I am not the graphics person. I'm not there are marketing people who are geniuses, and I was very much involved in the conversations, and I just listened to them. They did the research. I talked to them. I gave them, I showed pictures. I told stories. And then the next time they would come back and they would say, well, here's what we're thinking. And then I said, well, these colors, as you see, the Barbie doll has turquoise, teal, purple, lavender, as do the products, which you see right here. And those are colors that I associate with Madam Walker. Years ago, I found some of her stationery, and it used those colors. And so you can see that there's a consistency. And I said, I would love for us to keep those colors. The M is that's on the product. And this is, let's see if you can see that.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of trying to give it a contemporary feel. But there's also on the side Madam Walker's signature.
Oh,
So it's very subtle.
Yeah.
But we wanted to keep that idea. Just, like it's intentional, but it's subtle. And so there were ways to try to do that. And like putting her picture on the jar, might have resonated with younger people, maybe not, but we try to use images of her in the advertising and in some of the social media.
Wow, that's
That's
branding at its finest, though, at its best. Branding.
It's a great team that came up with this.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
looks really good. I mean, but I do want to get into, because I think we've all seen the Netflix series, and I actually read your article, and so I just want to like get your opinion, because one of the things that you said that struck me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up was because you said, I was one of many viewers both entertained by Netflix's highly fictionalized portrayal of Walker and disappointed by the distortion of crucial facts in her life and rise. And that was something that struck me in that article, that the young lady wrote. Why did you include that? Like, how did you feel about that? Because, I, having read your book about your great grandmother and then seeing the movie, I do see that there were two different stories being told, and of course they have to like make it a little more fictionalized to get ratings, to get people to watch it and things like that. But I would love to know your point of view of like the Netflix documentary and the film, and kind of like how you felt about it having seen it.
Yeah, so Octavia Spencer was great.
nice.
You know, I like to start with the positive. Blair Underwood is a lovely man, and
Oh, yes.
great.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
And the costumes were great. I love the hair. Octavia's hairstylist, I just thought really nailed it, because sometimes you see hair with Black folks in movies and it's just whack. That's just true. But, except that the other. I mean, this is sort of off topic, but Camille Friend, who does the hair for Wakanda for Black Panther, she's fabulous too. So I mean, the hair is a character. So those are my good things, and it was entertaining. But it was a really interesting journey that I hope my example will help other people be more empowered to push back. When my book was optioned, I agreed to go with a particular company because the person with whom I spoke and who was interested in it, I thought really, enjoyed my book, got my story, and was going to include me in the process of developing the storyline. And I had he arranged a conversation for me with the head writer, and she did not have a lot of credits, did not have a ton of experience, but when we talked, I thought that was going to be the first of many conversations, and she said she wanted to focus on the conflict between Madam Walker and Annie Malone. And I said during that conversation, again, thinking this is like I'm just giving my opinion, I said, well, I think that's an element, but I would not make that the central part of the story. And because I think that intimidated her, she and the director and showrunners intentionally excluded me from the conversations with the studio executives. And so that meant, but they did have to let me see the script, because my contract said that I had script review. But by the time I saw the script, the fix was in. The executives had signed off on it. And the first script was, I had said my sort of, baseline was like, please don't make me cringe. And I cringed because in the first version, in trying to appeal, I think they thought, to a younger audience, they had Madam Walker and Annie Malone in kind of a cat fight between two women. And I mean, I'm just telling you, they literally in the script were calling each other the N word and the B word.
Ooh.
So that's where we started. And I just think, so that got dialed back a bit, but they were really, they had told the studio that that the spine of this story was going to be two women at each other.
Wow.
That's disappointing.
And it's such a cliche. I mean, you can do every story, Hollywood story does that. But I thought you can still have conflict, and you can still have creativity and creative license. But for me, the stories of the women who inspired her, who her under their wing and who gave her the example of Black women supporting each other.
Mm.
And then she turned around and did that. For me, that's the story. And there can be all kinds of storylines and conflict and relationships that can be developed around that. Anyway, just know I'm working on some other things now.
Thank you.
And that's great, because that actually is my question. What is next for you? I mean, you've done so much, and I can tell from the comments that we're receiving that people are hanging on your every word, which we all are as well. So what's next? Can you share?
Sure, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So though I will say, I did an interview not too long ago. I feel I am such a fortunate person, and so to have had both the career in network television news that I enjoyed, and then to have this this next act where I get to have fun every day telling a story that's inspiring. So, and so I said to someone recently, I said, "What's next?" I'm like, "Nothing." But obviously that's not true. I'm editing the last 4 chapters of the biography of Madam Walker's daughter, Alelia Walker, which should be out next year. And I'm really eager for that to be out because the character in the Netflix series, like, it just had nothing to do with Alelia Walker. It was like entirely made up, and it just, that annoyed me too. So I really want to get her real story out there. So that will be sort of the next big thing. And and I just continue every day, every few days I get some kind of query from a publisher or a documentary series or somebody who's interested in some of the images that are part of my Madam Walker family archive. So I'm always licensing products, and I do a lot of speeches. The COVID sort of changed that mix where I do a lot of things on Zoom, not as many things in person, but those in-person things are starting to happen. And I'm going to be at Howard on Tuesday for we have this wonderful traveling Madam Walker Museum, and I'm going to be there talking with students along with some of the folks from Unilever.
Oh, do you know where it's going? The traveling
You
museum?
know what? The Howard is the first stop was actually Walmart it was in Arkansas at Walmart for a festival, and then it went to the Wright Museum in Detroit a week or so ago, and I didn't join them for that. And now it's going to Howard. There are some other HBCUs, but the schedule is not solidified yet.
You have to go to Fisk. Fisk has a wonderful
that would be great
collection. That's where I went to school, so it's like, I mean, I'll have to like call in a favor because I'm going back for homecoming. So I was just like, I would love if you would come there. That would just be so amazing.
Well, this is so Rodney Reynolds, who used to do American Legacy magazine, his next act has been he creates these sort of big trucks and has exhibits. So he has done this Black National Hockey League exhibit that's been up. He travels around with that, and then the Unilever folks arranged with him to create this Madam Walker exhibit, and it's it's just it's inside, built inside a big truck, but you go in and there's there's video and there's a little history and the products are there. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, sounds like it. It would be great to be able to tell our readers and viewers about the list.
Sure. I will once I have an itinerary, I would love to share it with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be really cool. All right. So are you guys ready?
Yes.
I'm a guest.
Special segment.
All right. So let me just sort of give some background why we came up with this special segment, which is called Rapid Fire. And you guys know that this show, Brand Rewind, we take a look at brands that have done great things and what can we learn from some of the positive decisions, choices, actions, behaviors. We've also, of course, talked about some brands that might have made some questionable decisions, might have stumbled a bit, but what can we learn from that as well? So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot some names, some brands at Miss Bundles called Rapid Fire this segment, and we're going to ask her to respond, to react with, we're going to say one word, but we're not going to be sticklers. Maybe there's more than one word. So who's going to kick us off? Patia, you kicking us off?
Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'll kick it off.
Yeah.
So let's start with Tyler Perry.
Oh, okay.
That's an interesting. My word is has he. Well, it's two words. Has evolved.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm going to throw mine at you. I'll go next. It's not a person. African ancestry.
Wow. Wow.
Gratitude.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, I'm going to throw mine at you. Kanye West.
Oh, Lord.
I knew this.
I knew.
We knew Barika was going to say that name.
Lost.
Lost?
Amen.
Was that it? Lost?
Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
Denise, your turn.
So I'm torn. I have like 3 names that are in my head. So can I ask 3? Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm having fun.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be so, and they're all different.
Because listen, the good thing about being 70 is nobody can fire me.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody can tell me.
I hear
Things we
you.
can all look forward to.
And I would like to know, in our viewers on now, if you guys have a name of a brand, whether it's a person or a company, please drop it in the comment box as well. So what about how about Lizzo?
Brilliant.
Mm.
And so can I guess if I can just say a little bit more. I mean, I am not the demographic. But I am, I'm just fascinated by her. And what she has, her sense of herself and her confidence, her talent.
Yeah.
Playing the
multi-talent. Yeah, multi.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I am of the generation where my grandfather said, don't put all your groceries on the shelf. So I still, when I get on the airplane, I still kind of dress up. I mean, they're just, things that are different generationally, but I'm fascinated by her.
Yeah. And remember the day when we all got on our Sunday best before we got on airplane or traveled, whether you were on a train, a bus, an airplane, and now you're right. Oh my gosh, that has changed.
It has changed.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have another one, and these my ladies co-hosts here know that I'm a complete nerd when it comes to the royal family. Meghan Markle.
That's interesting. Embattled, I think. But I don't like the way she's being treated. And I know some people are like, well, she knew what she was getting into, but
yeah, maybe she didn't. I don't know. Yeah, she might not have. I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be, and I'm sure a totally different world, right? When you marry into a royal family.
You see, Diana was of that world, and it was hard for her.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's true. Well, we do have one question. If you have one moment, I would love to. I think Velvet Lattimore, she had a really great question. She asked, how do you feel about the direction of so many amazing hair care lines owned by Black women, especially the love of natural hair care? I thought that was a really great question.
Great question. I'm loving it because when Madam Walker started her company in 1906, there were, believe it or not, already a handful of Black-owned hair care companies. I mean, people think, oh, Madam Walker was the first or Annie Malone was the first, but there were others who were before them. And Madam Walker actually created an organization called the National Negro Manufacturers Association, I think. And she brought together a collaboration of some of the other Black-owned companies. So this is not a new thing, but it is now mushrooming because we have social media. People don't have to go through retail stores to sell their products. They can experiment, they can start small, and then they can, sell their products on the internet, or they can build a company and sell it to a large corporation. So, and I think there's so much, people are innovating so much with with sort of natural ingredients, and they've come a long way. When Madam Walker created her wonderful hair grower, that was petrolatum, which is essentially Vaseline, but a petroleum-based product with sulfur. And I say Madam Walker drove an electric car in 1910, but she'd be driving a Tesla now. And so what we've tried to do with the formulas with Madam by NCJW is to update the formulas to take advantage of a century's worth of research and development and technology and science. And I think there's so much that people are doing with all kinds of natural ingredients. I'm a big fan of natural hair. I mean, I definitely, I came of age. As I said, I'm 70. So that means I've seen the whole circuit of hair. When when I was a little girl, when I wanted to take swimming lessons, my parents got me a chemical hair straightener because that made it easier for me to do my hair. But when I was a senior in high school, I wanted an afro. My dad was president of Summit Laboratories, a company that made chemical hair straighteners. So he was not really feeling me trying to have natural hair, but I did. And because that's what I wanted to do. And so then I've had, big afro, teeny weeny afro, the whole range. I bounced back and forth, but I have not done a chemical hair straightener in more than 30 years, maybe longer.
Wow.
But I found, for me, it was this journey that I wanted to know what the texture of my hair was like. And, it's different in the summer versus the winter, and the different phases of your life. But I wanted to figure out what works. Now, I don't have any great hair skills. This style I have that people think is complicated is a ponytail that I divide in half and twist and pin it up on my head, because I am really like low maintenance. And I love all of the styles that people do now. It's just so fascinating to me. Part of what we're doing with MCJW, to have styling versatility, first to have healthy scalps and hair with shampoos and conditioners, but also to whether it's a braid spray or whether it's a styling gel, we wanted people to be able to feel that they could change it up, because I know that's what a younger generation loves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you remember, I mean, in corporate, 'cause I grew up in corporate, and it was difficult for Black women, especially, to go into a corporation and wear their natural hair, because they had the pressure. We had the pressure to conform and wear our hair straight and look like, everyone else in the organization. And now, to your point, it's so great to see how more and more Black women are feeling more empowered, feeling more confident to wear their natural hair. And instead of conforming, they're informing the people around them. Like, this is who
the
I am.
Crown Act has been really important. AC Eggleston, who's a top executive at Unilever, and that is sort of over the division that is Madam Walker. She is one of the leading people advocating for the Crown Act. And I worked I worked in television news as a producer and an executive, and certainly there were very few Black women, who felt they could wear their hair natural during the years when I was working in the industry. There were a few. But now I look at MSNBC and I love it. But, and I think part of the reason part of what I noticed initially on MSNBC is that the women who are attorneys who are coming on, it's like, do you want my expertise? My hair comes with my expertise. But now there are many more anchors, when that was like not going to happen. And people are just, as you say, they are informing.
Informing. There's a comment here I want to read. Oh shoot, where is it? Somebody I've used. Oh yeah, so Small Business Management Consulting says I've used her story in classes. Yeah, here we go. That I've taught, but I didn't know many of the things being discussed.
Well,
Great.
thank you very much, Small Business Management Consulting. But I really I appreciate that, and I think the Netflix series has been like this double-edged sword because more people knew her name, but they like really don't know her story with that. And so I would encourage you to check out my personal website, aliliabundles.com. Then we have another, madamcjwalker.com. That's more biography and history. And then, of course, our product line of madambymcjw.com. But on my website and on the madamcjwalker.com, there's a lot of history there. And, of course, read my book, but I know that's a bigger time commitment.
Let's Barika, let's end with close with this question. What was the most important lesson you learned from your great grandmother?
Great question. Well, her lessons of have a great product or a great service, so excellence, and promote it, but also it was very much about giving back, very much about using whatever gifts you have been given to try to make the world a better place.
And what a way to end this segment. I want to acknowledge the name. I'm probably going to mess it up. Do you guys know Roselle Arnez? Did I get that right? Hopefully I got that right. Thank you for that question. So, and thank you, Ms. Bundles. This has been
This has been awesome.
Thank you.
amazing. And the folks who are coming to us both on YouTube and Facebook, and we have viewers both, loved everything about this segment.
Yeah.
So thank
Yes.
you for sharing as someone said, dropping so many gems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally my pleasure. Please follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Wait, you're on TikTok? You're on TikTok?
Stop trying.
I'm gonna have to follow you on TikTok.
I don't have much yet.
Yes.
and look, and she's talking about she's 70.
I know.
Whoa.
I need to follow her on TikTok. Please go follow Miss Bundles on TikTok.
70-ish.
I know, right?
I love it. I love
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us for this special edition of Brand Rewind, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely. An extra special thanks from me, for Miss Bundles, for joining us, for responding to my DM. I literally sent her a DM. I didn't think she would respond, but she did. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, we were so excited when Patia came back, Miss Bundles said, "Oh my God, she's fine." We were like, "We did." So thank you all again for joining us. And remember, we are back here in 2 weeks, Thursday, October 27th at 8 p.m. We did an extended special edition today, but we will go back and have our regular program in 2 weeks, as I said, Thursday, October 27th. So we look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.